For mortgage advice tailored towards your individual needs, contact PGB Mortgages today. Let them guide you through your home buying journey. Contact details are in the description. What's happening, people? I hope you're all well. So, how long will Sarah Boon get for the murder of George Torres Jr.? It's an interesting one because, and for those who don't know, let me just briefly give a summary of what happened. In 2020, Sarah Boon filmed her boyfriend at the time, George Torres Jr., in a suitcase and him begging to be let out. She wouldn't let him out and she was talking derogatory rhetoric, and ultimately he died through asphyxiation. He couldn't breathe in the suitcase and he kept asking to be let out. Sarah Boon was ultimately arrested, questioned by detectives and then arrested. They confronted her with the footage and she's now being convicted for the murder of George Torres Jr. She got convicted for second-degree murder, and I can't remember, so excuse me if I've missed anything out, if she got convicted also of some other charges as well. So her sentencing, I believe, is scheduled for December 2nd. And there is the question, how much time will Sarah Boon get? They went the bad spouse route in the investigation or in the trial. That's what her defense team, they went down that route, the bad spouse route. The jury ultimately did not believe that Sarah Boon was the victim in this instance, and so she is now scheduled for sentencing. How long will she get? I mean, there are a number of things. I'm in the UK. I'm not privy to all the US laws and the federal and state law. The UK law system and the US law system are not too dissimilar, but I'm not giving any professional advice. I'm giving advice simply from an outsider looking in. So, things that are similar in the UK and US, I believe, is if you plead guilty, then you will receive a lesser sentence. Typically speaking, in the UK, I believe it's like a third. You get like a third discount if you plead guilty. And in the US, I believe that at least in some states, if not all, you will get a lighter sentence. I don't know about the federal side of things, but I think from what I remember, I think that the judge can give anywhere from 25 to life in prison for this conviction. So if that's correct, and anyone correct me if I'm wrong here, if she's going to get 25 to life, there's a number of things the judge can do. Okay, there's a number of things that the judge can do. The judge also has to take in mitigating circumstances and determine whether they are relevant to the case. So, but when I look at the evidence, the power of the evidence, that also is going to play a part, I feel. The video really was the nail in the coffin, in the sense that it was just like, you can't really throw away the power of the evidence regarding the video. The video in itself was so definitive, and I think maybe that's not the most appropriate analogy to say nail in the coffin. Let's say that the video was it was very hard for any defense team to shake off the power of the evidence with regards to the video. Let's say it like that. It's probably a bit more appropriate. So the power of the evidence regarding the video is very strong, and I think that in itself no matter how objective you are, we're all human. That's probably going to play in the judge's mind. You know, the video. You know, the video is going to probably play in the judge's mind when he's thinking about what to give her. I am not an attorney in the US, and I'm not legally qualified in the United States. In terms of an outsider looking in, I would guess, you know, I'm guessing that she's not going to get the minimum if that's 25 years. Again, anyone let me know. You know, recording this video and having to remember loads of different facts, because sometimes you do get it wrong, but I don't think she's going to get the minimum. I don't think she's going to get the minimum. I think she's looking at maybe, I don't know why, but I don't know why I think this might happen, but maybe a sentence that's not life in prison, but is effectively life in prison. So she's what, I think she's 40 or something like that. So the judge might go and give her 40 years, 45 years, maybe 50 years. So effectively that is a life sentence, if you know what I mean, in the sense that she might get out when she's 90. If, you know, many people don't live to the age of 90. So I think she might get something like that. I think in Florida, the state of Florida, you have to serve 85% of your sentence. So she might get out when she's an old woman. I'm thinking she might get something like that. I also think they may, I don't know if they do in the US, but they may consider, because she was offered a plea deal. They offered her, I think, 15 years. And then if she got credit for time served, she's been in for about 4, that's 11. Then she's looking at serving the 85% if she's got good behavior. She could have been out in approximately 10 years if she took that plea deal. And I really think that was foolish of her not to take the plea deal. You see, in a court of law, you know, all emotions aside for a second here, in a court of law, it's not always whether you think you're innocent or guilty. And I'm not specifically talking about the Boon case here. It's not always about whether you believe you are innocent or guilty. It's about the strength of your case and how can you get out of that circumstance in the best way possible. It's not, you know, it's in court, it's not always fair. And I'll tell you that I'm not talking about Boon here, but generally speaking, there are thousands, tens of thousands even, of people in the world walking around prison who are innocent, completely innocent, but because they didn't have the best attorney to represent them, they didn't have the I don't know, they didn't have knowledge of the law. Maybe they talked to the police and, you know, that only harmed their case. You know, the police say you have a right to remain silent. They start, you know, talking a lot, and they don't realize that this is a legalese situation, and so they harm their case. And, you know, they end up in a situation where they are completely innocent of any crime or any wrongdoing, but the case against them is so big and so strong that their defense team are like, you know what, you should just take the plea deal, and many do it. Some stand on principle, like Sarah Boon maybe, I don't know what was in her mind, but there are plenty of innocent people walking around prison. So sometimes, just to summarize before I go off topic, sometimes it's not about whether you're innocent or guilty in the unfair world that we live in. It's about coming out of the situation in the best way possible. And with the power of the evidence that was against Sarah Boon here, I honestly believe that the best situation for her was to take the 15. That's my honest opinion, because she probably, if she behaved herself in prison, and apparently she has been a model prisoner in jail leading up to her trial, you know, maybe that would have been the best thing for her, you know, to take the 15, and she could have come out in her, like, what, 50s? That's better than coming out in your 90s or never coming out at all, right? But, you know, every defendant has a right, you know, to take it to trial. She took it to trial and she lost. So I believe that the judge may take into consideration the fact that she didn't take that plea deal. Maybe. But just to conclude this video, I think that I don't know if she's going to get life, because I do believe that there was, you know, George Torres Jr. did not deserve what happened to him, but I don't think he was perfect. No one is. Judging by, you know, I see evidence of him smashing up the TV and things like that. He obviously had an arrest record as well. So I don't think he was innocent, like in terms of like, in the crime he was innocent of what's just happened, but in terms of like their day-to-day life, I don't think he was completely faultless, although I wasn't there and I don't want to comment too much. But I do believe the judge may say, do you know what, in his mind, that he wasn't an angel, and that may have a small impact on the sentence he gives. But ultimately I think that she's going to get somewhere in between the minimum and the maximum, but it may effectively be her in prison for, if not all of her life, the best part of her life. You know, you might see her coming out, you know, when she's 80 or 90 or something like that. And you know, the judge has to consider justice as well. You know, there's rehabilitation, there's justice, and honestly, if I heard that she's getting a 40-year sentence to come out when she's 80, or 50-year sentence to come out when she's 90, I wouldn't be too outraged. I wouldn't be outraged at all. I would probably say that, you know, I'd probably nod my head to that. Anyway, let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when I'm making a new video. If you appreciate my work and want to leave a donation, there's a link for that in the description. And with that, enjoy the rest of your day. See you on the next one.